Evening. It is Maseches Shabbos Kodesh. It is today's Amud is for the 13th of Chodesh Shvat, as we are completing the 9th parak of Maseches Pesachim, concluding with our final Gemara. The Mishnah had told us at the bottom of Tzadi Chesam Beis a number of different halachas about getting mixed up between different karbanos. And the Mishnah discussed what happens if you have one group of people that you had they were all together in the same Korban Pesach, and the Korban Pesach got lost, and one of them is says, I'm going to go look for the Korban Pesach, and the other one say, I'm going to go find another Korban, and we'll meet up and we'll see who's what the deal is. Says the Gemara at the bottom of Tzadi Chesam and Beis, Tana Rabbanan, Brisa says as follows: Amar Lahem, 3 lines from the bottom of Tzadi Chesam and Beis. Tana Rabbanan, the Rabbanan told the Brisa, Amar Lahem, if he says to them, you go off and see if you can find a Korban Pesach, and I'll join onto that one. And they said to him, and if you find the original one, then we'll be with you. Whichever one shechted first, that's the one that everybody eats from, and the other one is going to be burnt. And obviously, if you don't know, as the Mishnah told us, then you have to burn both of them. You know that you're Yotze, but you don't get to eat anything, and you're part of from Pesach Sheni. They said to him, what if he didn't say anything to them? And they didn't say anything to him. They're like, all right, I guess we're just going to have to figure this out. Nobody is responsible for one another. And at the top of Tzadi Tes Amud Aleph says the Gemara Mikana Chachamim, from here the Chachamim said, Yafe Shtika Chachamim. Shtika, silence, is good for Chachamim, because if nobody says anything to each other, then everybody will be Yotze Korban Pesach, and everybody will be able to eat Korban Pesach. If you didn't say anything, better not to say anything. Rashi points out, Mikan Amru Mipnei Davar Kazeh Amru Yafe Shtika, because of these kinds of things, they said Yafe Shtika. She'ilu Amar, because if he says something, Va'amru Hasheni, and the other guy says something, the other group says something, Ein la Takana, nobody can figure out any way to fix this, because you don't know which one came first. Loi Amar ve'loi Amru, and if he didn't say anything and they didn't say anything, Shneihem Ru'in Zeh Oichel Mishla V'zeh Oichel Mishla, and both of them would be able to eat from their own respective Korban Pesach. Rashi points out, Mipnei Davar Kazeh Amru, because of these kinds of things they said this, because this isn't the right. I mean, this is an idea that supports this. This is a halacha that supports the idea, but the proof of it, the root of this idea, is actually in a pasuk, as we'll see in a moment. But Mikan Amru Chachamim, from here the Chachamim said, Yafe Shtika Chachamim, Shtika is good for Chachamim. Kavachem leTipshim, how much more so for fools? Meaning, if being quiet is good for wise people, being quiet is for sure good for fools. Shenemar, and this is the makar from the pasuk. Shenemar, the pasuk says, Mishle Shlomo Melech tells us, Evel macharish chacham yechashev. Even if a fool is quiet, he'll be thought of as wise. He'll be considered to be wise, and that's the Musar Haskel that the Gemara offers us. And then the final din that we're going to discuss in that Mishnah is two people whose Pesachs were exchanged, meaning, well, possibly exchanged, and you don't know. The two guys staying in the room next to each other in the world of Historia. One guy says, I don't know if this is mine. The other guy says, I don't know if it's mine. We don't know who belongs to which. What are we supposed to do here? You walk through Mamila, you're like, I think this is mine. No, this is mine. I don't know what's happening. We should be zeichet to have these questions. Says the Gemara as follows, maybe we could say that the Mishnah is not like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Why would the Mishnah not be like Rabbi Yehuda? The time, because the Brisa tells us as follows. Quoting from the Pasuk says, with regards to the original Pesach Mitzrayim, if the household doesn't have enough people to have a set, meaning that there are too few people to finish the set, you're going to end up with no set. That's the simple reading of the Pasuk. It says the Mishnah, it says the Brisa, Melamed shemismatim v'holchim. What comes out from this is that you can detract one after another, meaning if the house will be detracted from having a seh, but that language is interesting. Says Rabbi Yehuda, we learn from this that you can have people drop off of a Korban Pesach, so long as one of the original owners is on the Korban. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi says, it's okay to not have any of the original owners so long as there is an owner on it. Meaning, the way that the Gemara is understanding is Rabbi Yehuda is of the opinion that whenever you have a group of people that decide this is going to be our Korban Pesach, somebody from that original group has to stay connected to that Korban Pesach. Somebody has to be the Balabais on it. Somebody's the guy in charge. You have lots of people join, lots of people drop off, but as long as somebody from the original group is there, you're okay. Rabbi Yossi is of the opinion that's not true. What you could do instead is have a group of people register on this animal, and then you could have 3 of them switch out, another 3 switch in, and then another 3 of the original people switch out, meaning you can switch and change so long as every korban always has an owner. It's never left without an owner at any point in time, even if they're not the original ones. And our Mishnah seems to be supportive of Rabbi Yossi's opinion, because the Mishnah tells us that if you have 2 people, each of them are balim on their Korban Pesach, but you don't know which Korban Pesach belongs to, each one needs to borrow somebody from the street. Each person needs to borrow somebody from the street, and then you can do the exchange, and then other people can drop off the chara as necessary. But you could end up with each Korban Pesach not being with the original owners. Says the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, not necessarily true that this is not the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Why? I feel it, Rabbi Yehuda. You could even say that this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Kevan the Amar Rabbi Yehuda, since Rabbi Yehuda tells us, Ein Shachtanas HaPesach al Hayachin, that one is not allowed to shech the Pesach for one individual, meaning you have one guy with one shepsel, he wants to go shech the Korban Pesach. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, get another guy with you. Which means that every Korban Pesach should have at least 2 original owners, which means that if you have these 2 guys, each one of them has picked a Korban Pesach, according to Rabbi Yehuda, they haven't finished the original ownership group. They need to get a second guy to be there for the original ownership group. And then they'd be able to do the exchange. Nafkamin l'charu that comes up between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yossi is whether or not lechatchila you can have the guys that you borrowed into another group drop off of your group. According to Rabbi Yossi, that's fine. You don't need to have 2 people lechatchila on your Korban Pesach. You just need to make sure that no korban ends up without ownership. According to Rabbi Yehuda, lechatchila you got to keep these 2 guys on it, meaning you switch it around, which the means that they would probably need to figure out which group they want to be part of. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the second guy that you pick to be on your Korban Pesach is as if he is on the original listing, meaning even though one guy yesterday picked the Korban Pesach, and then he goes, oh, Gewalt, I don't know which one is which, and he picks another guy, that guy's part of the original Chabura, according to Rabbi Yehuda. And that's Rabbi Yochanan's solution to the Mishnah, also going according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, or arguably, it might be more the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda than it is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, and this is what Rabbi Ashi says. That Rabbi Ashi says at the end of this quasi Amud. Amar Rabbi Ashi says, Rabbi Ashi, Masnis Nami Daika. The Mishnah is actually more meduyak according to this way of reading. It's more meduyak according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Diktani, because the Mishnah says, V'chein chamish chabur shel chamisha. If you have 5 groups of 5. Then each one, you can have an A and a B and a C and a D from each group, and then all the A's go to one group, and all the B's go to one group, or the C's go to one group, or the D's go to one group, or all the E's go to one group. You're going to end up with A, B, C, D, E, and each one is going to have one person from the original korban on each of them, and then you're going to have other people joining. Says the diak that Rashi is saying, Chamisha al Chamisha in. If you have 5 people for 5 groups, meaning 5 people in each of these 5 groups, 25 people total in, then you could do this. Aval shel chamisha v'arba loy. But if you have 5 groups and a 4 group, meaning some of them have 5, some of them have 4, you can't do that. The Mishnah doesn't give you a solution here. Why? It seems to be the reason that the Mishnah doesn't give you that solution, that you could just switch it all around, is because there isn't enough people that you could ensure with certainty that each korban would have one of the original owners on it. The original chabura would not necessarily be on it. Meaning, if you have 5 groups, one of them only has 4 people, the rest of them have 5. So you can't be certain if those 4 people switch around. You can't be certain at all that you are going to necessarily make sure that each that one of these korbanos has one of the original owners, because there's 5 korbanos and only 4 possible original owners in the group, which means that one korban might not have one of its original owners. And therefore, says the Gemara Shema Mina, we learn from this that this sounds like it's much more the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda than it is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, although you could read it the opinion of Rabbi Yossi as well. Rashi says that the mission is meduyik like that to make it make sense, more like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda than Rabbi Yossi. Hadron Allah Misha Yatame. We've just finished the parak of Misha Yatame. And Be'ez Hashem, we will return to this parak, and then we have in our Gemara Uslik Allah Pesach Sheni, and we have just finished Maseches Pesach Sheni. Now we haven't finished any Maseches yet. We've finished the Maseches of Pesach Sheni, which is the Meiri told us all the way at the beginning of the Masechta that in the days of the Goyim they split Pesachim meaning 2, into 2 sections. You had Pesach Rishon, which is all the halachas of contemporary Pesach, Matzah, Maror, Chametz, Bisman Haseh, of which we are going to begin the final parak of it tomorrow. But for the last 5 parakim, we have been learning Pesach Sheni, all the halachas, not of Pesach Sheni in Iyar, but Maseches Pesachim, part 2. That's Pesach Sheni, all the halachas of Korban Pesach, which we have just concluded. And Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we will begin with the new parak, the final parak of Maseches Pesachim tomorrow. Be'ez Hashem, looking forward to seeing everybody there. And Shavuot Tov Mevarach, and have a wonderful evening.